So how old are these crickets?
These are about 8 weeks. So they were full grown, yep. They've had a nice life. They were breeding. And crickets, they don't jump out. They like to be together, being in their little habitats. In the kitchen, we dehydrate the crickets and process them. I mill them into a fine powder. We make cookies with that. We season them and roast them whole. We make them into snack mixes, cover them in chocolate. How many pounds do you have coming out of the freezer?
Out of the freezer, I think we've been averaging about 4 pounds per...
No, well, I'm thinking to put it in the dehydrator now, so 4 pounds.
Oh, no, we got 3, so it'd be 12 going in there.
Okay, so that's good.
What you just saw was our, what we call the Iron Maiden. It's the walk-in freezer. They fall asleep in about a half an hour. They go into hibernation. And we leave them in overnight before we harvest them. So they're frozen solid, then we rinse them off and Claire takes them.
Then I take them into the kitchen. Chad and I, we definitely always had discussions about there's not going to be enough water and there's not going to be enough land. We can't sustain the way we're going. And crickets, obviously, it's a fraction of the land, feed, water than it would for other sources of protein. Cattle, I believe it's about 10,000 gallons of water per pound, and crickets, it's 1. And obviously land. Crickets emit virtually no greenhouse gas. There's really no byproduct. Kind of looks like ground beef. So climate change is our mission. This is where we collect the eggs from the female crickets. They lay them in the peat moss. So Maddox collected them, and now he's moistening them so that they stay in the incubator, they don't dry out, and so he's just kind of covering them with water. You can see a lot of them that have just hatched. So these are little just hatched baby pinhead crickets. So their exoskeleton hasn't hardened yet, so they're really light.
You're blowing them off, the little babies off the top?
Yes. We like to get as much as we can to be able to plant.
Our son came home on Earth Day with a cricket flour cookie from school and said, "You'll never believe what I ate." And it was a snicker-doodle and it was delicious. Chad and I, we both kind of looked at each other and said, "Oh my gosh." So we, the next day, built a habitat downstairs in the basement next to the washer and dryer, and we had a little humidifier and set up a little heater and bought some crickets, and we were able to breed them and we were able to hatch the eggs. When we first started looking for space to farm, I mean, it was unheard of. If we say cricket farm, they don't understand. They obviously think it's outside. They don't realize it's inside. So people thought we were crank calling them. After we moved in here and had our setup going, the beginning was really getting the farming down. At first, we really thought maybe people will want to buy them frozen raw next to the shrimp. And that didn't happen. The ick factor is definitely there. In our culture, we look at a bug as a pest, and it's a preconceived notion. You just think it's dirty. You think it's something that we shouldn't be eating. insects have been eaten for generations, for millennia. So it's not something new, but I think that bigger chain stores, for this to really be a mass product, I think they want to have regulations in place first.
What are you making for us?
All right, so we're gonna make some cricket tortillas. We're gonna incorporate a little bit of cricket powder to our nixtamal masa, and then we're gonna make a winter squash taco. When you understand the flavors, you really appreciate that, I think. And for me, it might be even a little nostalgic when I'm able to taste something that I grew up eating with. Cricket, is not very easily sourced here. But thanks to Claire, now I can have it.
Well, you taught us what a cricket should taste like, so.
So if you're trying to use just cricket as flour, it will not work, it will not stick. We're gonna add about a tablespoon of cricket powder for a pound of masa. I grew up in central Mexico. The way I look at corn, I always see it as such an important part of like the ecosystem, right? Because I grew up around it. And then, I mean, there are crickets everywhere. It's always like the idea of putting things together that belong in one environment, and they kind of just mix well. So when we talk about doing the tortilla, for me, it just makes sense. Like it's something they should go well together because they coexist. While we're doing that, we're gonna finish this sauce. So it's dried chilies, peanuts, garlic, and oil.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, we call it's called salsa macha.
Raising crickets, this is something that has been here all along, and we're bringing it back and showing people that this is something we should be eating. We feel very strongly about it, and it does allow us to get up in the morning to know that it's not the answer, but raising crickets, it's a piece of the puzzle. And humans, the way we eat, I mean, that is the most important thing.
I'm gonna make one more.